Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, and really anything anyone's afraid to talk about, we talk about it on the show. I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. Does not matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on my platform. Make sure you go hit up the YouTube channel, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. Hit me up over on Instagram at Depths of Darkside. And you can follow the audio format of the show on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you can find the show, it's on there. With no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to the Sheriff, Sean McMorrow, on the show today. You want to take it away and let us know a little bit about you, Sean, before we break into some great questions?
Yeah, no, for sure. First off, I just want everybody to know how excited I am to be on this man's show. I'm super excited. I have some very close friends that have been on the show, and they had some really cool things to say about you, man. And I'm looking forward to this episode. A little bit about me. You're asking a fellow host to talk about himself. I don't know if we have enough time for this. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure you can say
anyway,
it in a couple sentences. I know
all
Sean's a
jokes
former
aside.
hockey player.
Yeah,
He's
no,
got
for sure.
many
No, I
other
know
stories.
exactly what you mean.
I know.
How my guest on Friday, when he got interviewed, when he first signed up with the Leafs, he said when he goes into the dressing room, he usually chirps guys. He's not a shy guy in the dressing room, but I'm just chirping you, buddy. But a little bit about myself. I was born in Vancouver, but I was raised in Scarborough. There's 4 kids in my family. We grew up single parent until my mom remarried when I was 13 years old. I played at the highest level of hockey growing up as a kid. Had really good grades. I was a really good kid. I got to give myself credit. My mom was a big part of my life growing up. My mom and my older sister, which raised me, so a little bit of a mama's boy, but I think that has its advantages as we get older. I was lucky enough to be drafted to the NHL, to the Buffalo Sabres, in the 8th round. So I was a late pick, but I stuck my way in there, got my entry level, made a little bit of noise, and I obviously was able to reach my dream of getting called up. And I played a bunch of preseason games, but I only got called up for the one regular season game. But it was really a dream come true for me because I was a Canadian kid from Scarborough. My typical Saturday night would, if I wasn't playing myself, would be walking over to my grandfather's house, who lived about 5 minutes away from us, and watching Hockey Night in Canada on a Saturday night with my grandfather, my great uncle Frank. And I really enjoyed that. And I was a super big Leaf fan growing up. And I really loved the culture that we had, especially in Canada, of the Saturday night hockey. And like I would have hot chocolate with raisin bran toast every Saturday night. I knew I was guaranteed that. And I just looked forward to that and watching the game with my elders and my family. And I really enjoyed that. I'm going on, but the point is that one game that I got called up just happened to be against the Toronto Maple Leafs, Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada, right? So this is the Canadian kid from Scarborough, the Hockey Night in Canada kid, but I got to do that. And so for me, I was playing for Buffalo at the Air Canada Center at the time. And really, what I grew up watching as a kid, I was able to be behind the scenes and embrace and really feel it. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Um, the moment that I actually, I know we're going off here. Podcasts like this are the best ones where we just talk. It's not even expected, right? I didn't know I'd be talking about this, but the time that I realized that I was really in the show was when it was before we went out for warm up. It was the time that the players are like taping their sticks and they might be in the stands. They might be like in the huddle or on the bench. Half the guys are in the room. Half the guys are maybe running around, stretching. And the referees were skating around. The refs were warming up. So they have their time to warm up before the players. And so for me, I had to go on the bench because I had to, I had to get it all come in, right? And there was a famous ref, Paul Stewart, I think his name is. And he came over, knew it was my first game. And he came over. He's, hey, you're that McMorrow kid, right? It's your first game. He's, congratulations, man. Man, this is the big times here, man. You're only 20 years old. But you should be very proud of yourself that you're here. And when he said that, I was like, this is an NHL ref congratulating me because we're about to play a game. I'm really here. I'm really in the show. And that was when it first sunk in. But that was the extended version of who I am.
And Sean, you had a remarkable career in hockey, including holding world records. Can you share one of your most memorable moments on the ice, which I think I just heard, but what it taught you about the game and yourself at that point too?
Right on. That's a great question, buddy. So I obviously, all the hockey players growing up in Canada, our dreams are to play in the NHL. You want to play in the NHL. NHL players all the time on TV. You're watching TSN, Sportsnet. That's where you want to be. And the time that I got up there, although it was just like a cup of coffee, like the time length that I was there, obviously I'm going to think of those moments. But if me, my career was a little bit different. Like I wasn't an NHLer. I was an AHLer, which I'm very proud of. But what I also got to do is, for my position, I believe that I did a lot because I went over to the UK. I got signed by the Belfast Giants. Now, for the people that don't know the history of that team, there's still some, I guess you could describe it as partially a civil war in that country. Catholics, Protestants. It's gotten a lot better, the peace. It's gotten a lot better. The 70s was the height of it. Now it's gotten a lot better, but there's still things that happen once in a while, and there's still tension, and it's still an issue. One way they bring these communities together is with the sports. So with the ice hockey, it's golden because it's a new sport. It has a brand new arena. The team was specifically designed to bring people together. The emblem of the Belfast Giants, who's Finn McCool. The novelty is he was a big giant, and he went from rock to rock in the ocean, and fought the Scottish Giants to protect Ireland, right? Nothing to do with religion. It's about the northern tip of Ireland, which is Portrush, where the Giants supposedly came from. The colors are all neutral. There's a teal because it's like a neutral between the red and the blue, which usually stand for either side. When you go in the Odyssey Arena, you can't wear any type of soccer or what they call football jerseys because they're all tied to a specific side, and fights will start out if there are certain things. You're only allowed to wear either Belfast Giants jerseys or regular civilian clothes like how we are. You can't wear any other representation of sports. There's no national anthem at the Odyssey Arena. So they take all these precautions to keep the peace. And with a new team that you're celebrating that doesn't represent either side, you could be from either side of the town, the Falls Road or somewhere in the Ulster area, be hardcore Catholic, hardcore Protestants, sit right beside each other and celebrate the Belfast Giants and be brought together and be like, you know what? If we got along during this game, why can't we get along all the time? That's the mentality, right? They wanted to bring in a guy that was not only willing to be the face of the team, but was willing to do all these promotional events that they have, bringing these communities together. Unbelievable. So I had just finished my third winning and this isn't about awards. It's just about you understanding the type of player I was and what I was interested in. I had just finished winning my third AHL Man of the Year award. Okay. I was in Rockford. My GM just happened to be a goalie that used to play in the elite league. And he was telling me about the Belfast Giants, how they were interested in me, knew I was this like community guy, and they called them hard men, the tough guys. They needed a hard man that was willing to play this role in the community. And when I was offered that, just jumped on it. And it was the best year I've ever had. The funnest year I ever had was that year for the Belfast Giants. That year, man, that's when the sheriff character stuff all blew up and got big. And they were selling my t-shirts. They were selling little badges so you could put a jersey. I have a bunch of them. I wear them on my show. And it's not even about that, but it was just fun being part of that process, making the design, having the team approach me and say, hey, everyone's calling you this shirt. Jump on this, get some memorabilia going. And you know what I mean? And I loved it because I could learn the whole business side of it. And so, man, I know I'm going on and on, but those moments in Belfast are probably the most memorable moments for me when I look back at the career. Everything worked out for me that year. I had a great year on the ice as well, and great teammates and such a great experience. And it may not look it, but I'm actually half Irish, right? It's the name, right? I was able to get an ancestry visa and everything just really worked out, man. It was really cool getting to play across the pond.
And you're getting to play in a place that's predominantly for football or known for golf or those types of sports. But it's becoming bigger all over the world now, hockey. It's all over the place, which is nice to see.
Oh yeah.
And it's nice to see that you enjoyed your funnest times were in a super new league on a new team. But it sounds like you had a great time over there. And that's where the sheriff blew up, which is awesome.
Big time. And just to touch on it, just because we're talking about the topic, it's not because we're talking about like world records, all that kind of stuff. So I don't like they wouldn't have a record for this type of thing, but there's a fact that when I played for the Belfast Giants and the Dundee Stars, I had my sheriff badge. I guess the best way to describe it is made the same way that the emblem was. Like it wasn't like we put a patch on it after. It was made by the company that made the jerseys, just like how the assistant captain or the captain, the ones that aren't sewed in, the ones that are part of it, it was just like that. To this date, I'm the only player in history to have a non-sponsored emblem on his jersey because the sheriff thing was so popular that they just, instead of being the captain, instead of being the assistant captain, they wanted to put that I was the sheriff on the team. So we just went with it because it was just such a good year. We were first place. I was winning all my fights. We had a lot of confidence for us to do that. If you're going to be skating around with a sheriff badge on your jersey, you better expect that people are going to confront that. People don't fight that confidence all the time, right? So they'll fight that offensively. They'll be like, we got to go after this guy. He's got a badge on his jersey. You know what I mean? But I embraced it. It made me even play better. And yeah, man, it's pretty cool. I don't know why other guys haven't thought to do that have like well-known nicknames to ask their teams if they could make it a part of their jersey.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see some of these guys out there. It would have been cool to see. I do believe he's passed away now. The Boogeyman. Yeah, that would have been enough.
To see a boogeyman on Bugard's jersey or something. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
for sure. That would have been cool. He probably would have sold like 100,000 jerseys if he had that, right? It's a marketing
guy was
idea.
another
I think
force,
that, hey,
man.
man, you might have just came up with something here. Like, obviously that was that, but we're talking about like other players getting, maybe something
Yeah.
will turn out on this, man. Cause you know, everyone's going to watch this, of course, and listen.
Exactly. No, it's
I wouldn't
for sure. And you said you grew up playing hockey. What was it that, got Sean into hockey originally?
So pretty much what it was, buddy, it's great because like obviously like this is a great question, but obviously I've been asked it before, but I've been able to improve the answer a lot because I just think of better ways to answer it, I guess, over time. But like pretty much like it was a time when I mentioned that I was born in Vancouver, grew up in Scarborough. So we lived in Vancouver until 1989 when I was 6 years old. Okay. Now that was because my parents split up. So my parents had moved out to Vancouver together when there was a boom in Vancouver in the 70s. Everyone's moving out there. And obviously they split up. And then my mom was from Toronto. So the agreement was we were all going to be with my mom. So my mom thought it's probably best that I go back home where all the McMorrows are, because McMorrow is actually my mom's last name. We had our names legally changed. Scipio is my dad's last name. It's still a part of my name, but my mom just thought that we'd all be more confident if we had the same last name of all our cousins and aunts and uncles and big family in Toronto. I'm glad she did it. I understand why she did it. And we were all so young to been our names our whole lives, right? So I'm 6 years old and this is in the spring. That fall is when I started. Now, I think my mom was like, new start. We're all in Toronto. Most of my kids are old enough to start hockey now. So we all got put in hockey. So my mom is the backbone of that. She was the driving force. And you know what, brother? When I first got on the ice, I was crying, man. I didn't want to be out there. And it was about encouragement. It was about, come on, Sean, let's give this a chance. I was skating with pushing off just one leg. And my mom told me that this coach came up to me and I was making a fuss. And I think I was probably like giving my mom like a dirty look and trying to make her know that I wasn't happy. And then all of a sudden, this coach came over and said, "Hey, Sean, can you help me organize these pucks?" And I went with him. And my mom said that was a wrap. That's all it took was me just wanting, maybe it was I wanted attention. from a coach type figure. Maybe I just needed like an authority figure to tell me, okay, let's go, like a coaching style. I don't know what it was, brother, but whatever he did, I was distracted from pretending that I didn't want to be there anymore, and boom, and the rest is history, man. But yeah,
And that's funny
that
how those
story stuff up.
stories go. That's amazing. It's nice to have that person that drove you to get into hockey, to that organized sports, whatever the case may be. I feel organized sports or organized something is great for all kids,
Oh yeah,
especially in today's day and age. It keeps them out of that trouble, that street life, the things that are going on the streets. But there's just so much crap out there, and especially with this internet, the way it is today, it can be a driving force to drive them off the wrong path. So I'm glad I had sports growing up as man.
oh yeah, man. I think it's so important. I agree with you on every point. So there's all those points, and just to add to it, there's the whole aspect of the discipline, of the team camaraderie, of being able to socialize a bit better. There's a lot of situations with travel hockey where not everyone's parents can go to every single tournament. So there's going to be times where you gotta stay with another teammate and their parents. So you learn to you have sleepovers with your friends, but it's not the same. You're in a different city, in a hotel, and you got to adapt to that and learn and grow up. And I think it's very good for the development of kids when becoming adolescents. Yeah, buddy, that's a strong.
I remember that too as well, playing travel hockey, AAA, AA, growing up
Yeah,
and having to go. My dad coached AAA, and there's 3 boys that played travel hockey in my family too, so
yeah, they had
we
to
were
pick and
every little
choose
corner.
sometimes, right? So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, no, same
You
here,
know,
man.
my dad coached the infamous Bauer Krauts in Kitchener, so
Wow.
for many years, and coached many great guys coming up through the system and stuff like that too. We had to we it was nice to see them grind it out though, like my dad working 2 jobs, night shift, and working another job just to pay for things
Yeah.
because hockey ain't cheap, and I know that's what I give all respect to the parents that put in the grind and put their kids through these things.
100%, man. That's something that I was able to have the opportunity to be in the conversation with this year, which I really appreciate. I had the opportunity to get on the platform Spit and Chicklets just over, it's been a year now because it was in my Facebook memories. And one of the topics that we talked about was what's the problem with hockey right now? And I was saying to them, the biggest problem in hockey is that it's just not accessible to every demographic. And we're talking,
It's so true.
oh yeah, bro, we're talking about AA and AAA. You were talking about it just now. And okay, so let's do the numbers here. So right now, the Don Mills Flyers AAA team, the team that I grew up playing for, there was registration when I played, but it was nothing like it is now. It costs
If you don't have 20,
$15,000.
that's what I mean. Like 50, $100,000 to play on these GTHL teams.
Yeah,
So I had friends that got recruited to go play in the
yeah.
GTHL because they were much better caliber playing AAA. Sure, but it's crazy to think like some of these coaches are being, it's a full-time
Oh yeah.
job.
But they're paying them
It's
like a
just
full-time
insane.
job too now, though.
Exactly.
It's a
Yeah.
big business, brother, and it's a little bit scary to think that. But the Don Mills Flyers, the registration is $15,000 this year. Don Mills Flyers AAA team. Okay, let's say you're a single mother that makes $50,000 salary, respectable salary, single mom. She's working hard. She's obviously a super mom, right? Able holding it down. Okay, so my son just happens to be good enough to be able to play at that level where it's against the most competitive kids probably in the country, this AAA league in Toronto. So now I got to fork up $15,000. Oh, you got 2 sons that are good enough to play? So that's $30,000. How is she able to do that on a $45,000 salary where she's really getting 22, 25, 20, maybe $26,000? It's just not possible, right? That's one of the biggest problems. It hasn't been addressed to this point. Canada wonders why we're the hockey nation, man. We make it like hockey is like everything here, right? Okay. So if hockey is everything here, why are we losing our status in the world? Why did Sweden just pass us for the most NHL players per capita in the NHL. We used to be at like 80% in the 80s, right? And then it went down. We were still number one. Now Sweden's number one. We're still good. We're winning Olympics and stuff like that, but we're not dominant like we were before. It's only the best of the privileged kids and the kids like Anthony and Chris Stewart that just happen to be so good that the teams will pay for them to be on the team. But not every kid gets that type of opportunity. There's not a lot of Chris and Anthony Stewarts out there. You know what I mean? That's not common, right? We're only giving one demographic the opportunity to represent our country. Yeah, there's been some amazing players, but let's be honest, they're all rich kids. They're the best of the rich kids or the privileged kids that were lucky enough to sneak in. Now, with programs like Seaside Hockey Equality, the HDA, I was a part of Seaside this past season. These are programs that have gotten grants from the Canadian government where listen, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but it's going to blow your mind because it blew my mind when I saw it. Free registration, free equipment from head to toe. This is a beginner's program. Amazing logo. It's like the Seattle Kraken, but it's Seaside, same colors. It's really cool, right? These kids had brand new skates, brand new helmets, brand new gloves, pants, everything. Everything is free. I was like, man, these are nice skates, dude. They're better stuff than I had. You know what I mean? And these are kids that have all this stuff. They have no idea what hockey was. Well, I mean, they've seen it on TV, but they've never tried it. Now after 3-4 weeks, they're all wheeling around the ice. They have the top of line gear. Just the skates is so important. If the kid has any potential and he has great skates, he's going to be good as long as he has practicing every week, right? Like practice makes perfect, just like anything else. So I'm watching the development of these kids. I couldn't believe it. It brought the passion back for me for this game. It was incredible. This was the first time I've actually coached. I know we haven't gotten this topic, but this was the year that I started the coaching, and man, it opened up so many doors for me. I had such a great time. And I recommend anyone that's listening, I recommend if you have an opportunity to coach, even if it's a beginner's program, because that's what mine was, take it. Because what I learned is that the word volunteer really means opportunity.
It's so true. And I enjoyed coaching or teaching kids that were really young kids just getting into hockey, fundamental hockey schools every week. Yes, it was a little bit of a paid gig, but not much, but it was more of just the camaraderie to watch them develop from week 1 till the end of week 20 every week. And the kids that they just came out there, they were having a good time. And we had the kids like you were just talking about yourself. So I'm going to bring you up crying, not wanting to be there. By week 20, they didn't want to leave the ice at that. So it was just that you get to see that growth in them, which is amazing, man. So I'm glad you brought that up.
100%, man.
I want to dig a little deep into mental health. And mental health is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, but that's gaining more attention in the world of sports, especially. Could you talk about your own journey with mental health and how you've navigated its challenges throughout your career?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, with me, anxiety, the role that I had to play, it really took a toll, man. Like I would be like, I have over 500 pro fights. I wasn't known for knocking people out, but I was known for winning the majority of my fights. And that's why I was able to play for so long. And I still got so much anxiety, man, before I thought that was going to happen. And sometimes I'd be on the bench watching the clock. And even though like the guy that I'd be like matched up with, like I beat him before. And even though like I have all the confidence person, just what it was is I was afraid to lose. I was afraid that if I did lose, that I get sent down. I was there. So there was the anxiety of getting knocked out in front of 10,000 people in a day where everyone's got a camera on their phone. There's big risks that are taken for guys that do certain roles and guys that do certain jobs in sports, right? And to be the hockey tough guy, there's so much risk of losing your job, risk of embarrassing yourself and your family. Maybe it's going to be a viral video where you get knocked out and then your head hits the ice and it's, oh, hockey is crazy. And it becomes a viral video, right? There's a lot of things on the line and all this goes through your mind. And then on top of that, there's the competitor in us of the pride. And so that part probably would have been the anxiety of being scared to lose. Yeah, like sometimes I'd be having panic attacks, man. It's 5-1, right? The game's getting all chippy. It's now down to the last minute. So it's okay. So this line's out there. If there's no whistle, it'll just end the game. But if there's a whistle, I'm going on the ice if there's 21 seconds left. I'm going. It's hero or whoever, right? I'm going 100%. So if I'm going and it's 5-1 and the game's chippy right now, it's going to happen. So it's all about, oh my God, oh man, it's going to happen. Hey, water. Okay, how do I feel? How do I feel? Oh man, okay, more water. I need more water. I don't know. I need a Gatorade. I need sugar. I need energy. Because it's the end of the game, right? You guys are gassed, right? And maybe it was a game where you actually got to play a little bit, but now games are getting out of hand. And this is the job where you're willing to do things that other players aren't willing to do. That was the best description of the hockey enforcer, tough guy, whatever you want to call them. We're doing things that guys don't want to do. It's Sunday night in the AHL, 3 games, or let's say Sunday afternoon, 3 games in 2.5 days. Let's say I fought a Friday night. I fought twice on Saturday. My hands sore, my shoulders sore. I'm tired. My knees bothering me. It's end of the weekend. There's 20 seconds left. Can they just not put the puck over the glass, or can the goalie just not stop it and cover it? Is that let him pass it? Practice your outlet pass, goalie. You don't have to cover it and get a whistle. Just keep the play going. I can hardly even put pressure on my knee. But if I go out there, I'm going to have to scrap the toughest guy on the other side. And that causes anxiety. So I wanted to make that a little entertaining. But so that's like the mind process of the player. But then there's a deflection on a shot and the puck goes over the glass. McMorrow, whoever, go over, line up. We're winning 5-1, so they're all pissed off. So their coach is probably, don't take any shit. Go after somebody. Oh, I'm there, and Buddy has to at least show that he's trying. Sometimes you can know, like sometimes you know that it doesn't have to happen, but you have to at least make it look like you're. But let you consider, I have to do this. I have to make it look like something. Like guys would give each other heads up like that, but most of the time it'd be okay. You ready to go? It'd be like, oh fuck, man, come on, man. He'd be like, coach told me I had to go, man. We got to do this, man. And then you got to keep that. You got to keep that image. So you got to do it. You got to answer the bells. That's pretty much what it is, man. All the other guys knew they were done a couple minutes ago. They might get one more shift. Okay, just get it in deep. You know what I mean? But with the tough guy, it's, man, you could have a 2-minute battle with 20 seconds left in the game if it comes down to those dynamics, right?
Yeah, no, most definitely. And it can probably get nerve-wracking too. Even though your role, what you're out there to do, that's what you've been brought in to do by each team you've played for. But it must be nerve-wracking. It'd be nerve-wracking for myself too, knowing, who knows, one shot could be the knockout punch.
Yep.
You don't know.
And sorry, so like I went on and on about that, but I didn't really answer the question. So with the anxiety, how I dealt with it was, okay, so let's say in the beginning when I first started the fighting, people always wonder, how did your family start reacting when you're like 17 years old in the OHL fighting 21-year-olds and bare knuckle boxing on ice? Like, how's your family feeling about that? So for me, I was like, at first, my mom would cover her eyes when I was like 16, 17, 18. And then she realized that this was my role. So instead of being worried and scared, the approach was now, what's the best way we can help them prepare? Almost, it's like a boxing career. Your family's behind you. Hey, you taking protein? What kind of protein? I'll send you some protein. It's just a gift. You know what I mean? Like sport, preparation, stuff like that. So as I got older, I realized that the better I was prepared and the more organized I was, then the less anxiety I would get. If I did everything properly and I knew this was the best I could be prepared, then I could say to myself, you're ready. This is the best you could be. You had a great pregame meal. You went to bed at 10:30 last night. You're good, buddy. You're all right. But if you're off on something and maybe you went to bed late last night, but you're thinking about that at the end of the game, you're like, I don't want to swear, but you're like, damn, at 2 in the morning last night. What was I thinking? That's going to bring on the anxiety. So better preparation, better organization in my head, better scheduling is how I dealt with my mental health problem of anxiety. Oh,
Well, that's a great way because everyone has their own quirks and their own ways of dealing with their mental health and stuff like that. And it's always, very important to take care of that mental health because if we don't take care of that mental health, it can really go off the rails as well. If you're having that down day, people reach out to someone. If you don't have that someone, there's always so many places you can go to too. There's many crisis lines and those types of things, or write down in a journal. I find writing down things really helps as
yeah,
well.
100%. And I know, are you in Kitchener right now?
I'm in
Obviously, you're in
Guelph,
Guelph.
man.
Oh, so that's, hey man, if you're an OHL fan, that could have been a big, you could have got really offended, man, because I know the Guelph Storm and the Kitchener Rangers.
I'm a Kitchener Rangers fan, though. We'll make that
Okay, right on. Yeah, so no, the reason why I asked that is because I know that we're in different parts of the province. It's really not that far, but yeah, the crisis lines are great. I know that Pinewood, which their base is out of Oshawa, but they cover the whole GTA. They have a great crisis line. So anyone that's in this area, like you said, buddy, there's a lot of people that you can talk to. And if everyone just happens not to be available at that time, then call the Pinewood crisis line because it's 24 hours. So that would help.
Yeah, there's so many different ones. There's here 24/7. I've used them in the past, and let me tell you, they are amazing. They helped me through a tough time in my period of my life back in 2019, and I'm forever grateful for that as well, man. And I'll never take that away from them. You know what I mean? I'm not ashamed to say I've used these services either in the past, and that's
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
man. Sobriety is a huge part of your life,
Yes.
John. No. Sobriety is has been a significant part of your life now. What motivated you to get sober though? And how has this decision positively impacted your life and your outlook on the
Yeah. Well,
future?
yeah. Another great question, brother. Another great question. Like I said, like these are the type of talking points and shows that are important. It's not always about how many assists you got in 1996. Yeah, for me, like when I grew up, I remember the first joint cannabis cigarette that I had it was like the summer between grade 8 and grade 9. And then from that point, I would say I was like a moderate cannabis smoker up until I was like 18, 19, 20 years old, signed my entry level, always had summer jobs and stuff. So I always made money, but I was 20 years old. I was an eighth round pick. So I didn't get a big bonus, but it was $50,000, right? US, right? So I got my bonus in 2 installments. So it was 25 each installment. The tax was already off of it, but because I was like with the Sabres, I was able to get a high interest account that was Buffalo based and really cool looking Visa debit card. And it's an American card. And my agent that was from Buffalo, he set it all up for me. And I had $21,500 US. I think at that time that was like 32,000 Canadian. So I'm 20 years old. I got 30 grand in my account. I was pretty much able just to do anything I wanted to do. And it didn't have to be anything bad. I'm only 20 years old. I was 20 because I have a January birthday. So all my buddies are still 19, like we're teenagers. At that point, even the years when we were younger, still in school and had summer jobs, even summers that we made a lot of money, that money didn't really last. It was just a summer job, right? We weren't able just to go into a store and just literally just buy anything that you felt like buying. You just go into you're with your girlfriend, you go into the bay and she sees like a really nice jacket and you're just like, how much is it? It's only $200. Let's get it. You know what I mean? Just with just no hesitation. I'd never had that before. How that carried on to do with what we're talking about was like, again, I'm 20 years old. I didn't plain out buy a car, but I think I got a really nice Jeep. It was like, this was in 2002, and I think it was like a 2000. So it was pretty much new, just a couple of years old. It was black, it looked really nice, had a really nice car. I was training really nicely. I had a really nice girlfriend at the time. Everything's going right. So look, when you meet all these different people and you're able to go out more because you have money and go to restaurants all the time and you're socializing, meeting people, meet a lot of different circles, man. And then there was a situation where I had this circle of friends, but they were into coke. And so the coke was there. And like, I like, I think maybe I had tried it when I was in high school, but it wasn't an interest. But now I'm a little bit older and now I have my own money and I'm just, yeah, I want to try that. I was curious. You know what I mean? Like I just wanted to try it. Like it wasn't, so I'm just being honest. So, and again, like it wasn't a problem paying for it because I had the money. So I remember just saying like, how much? And he's, oh, I mean, if you're going to get a ball, I'm going to need 250 or something like that. And then so I was like, okay, gave him 260 or whatever and had it. And having no idea like what that really was. I'm like, sorry, but have a ball. Like I don't really want to do, is it, can we talk about
Oh, we're
okay,
okay to
so like,
talk
I'm
about
just
everything,
saying
man.
that's a big amount of drugs, right? But not knowing really how serious it was and just being able to access it, I was just like, I got it, did it. Obviously, probably wasn't that good because you know what I mean? If I was doing that amount that was good, I probably would have been up for a few days. You know what I mean? But the point is that's how I got introduced to it. No bad experiences, no sketchy people. I knew the people. I got it. Didn't have to go anywhere weird to do it. Had my own vehicle. So it was just like, it was easy. It was easy to do it. And not knowing like how bad it can get if you get hooked on it. And like, you know what I mean? Like I dabbled in that from that point, 20, all through my 20s. I would go times where there'd be months between times that I would do it. I just turn it a birthday, New Year's type of thing, but I was still doing it. You know what I mean? And what happened with me, brother, is after when I retired from hockey, it was because I had an interview with Sportsnet. Like what I'm trying to do now, 7 years ago, 2016, 7 years ago, right? I had an interview. It was crazy how it worked out. Like Mr. Ken Reed, who's the anchor of Primetime, Ivanka Osmak, or Sports Central, I should say. He actually called me to do a phone interview for a book he was doing. It's called One Night Only, and it's about 20 players that played one game in the NHL and their stories, like their stories, the first rounder that was a bust, or like the guy like me, the eighth rounder that just snuck in and was able to get called up. Everyone has a great story. And so it's called One Night Only. Don Cherry's in the book too, because Don Cherry actually, with how big he got in hockey, he only played one game in the NHL, right? He was a big time guy in the AHL, Rochester America. He was a big guy.
Coach,
Yeah, he
though,
coached.
that's
He
where he
coached
was at.
after, but he only played the one game, right? But that's interesting. A lot of people learned that from Ken Reed's book because you just assume that Don probably played at least a few seasons, whatever, right? But yeah, so it was really cool. And then so after the interview, Ken Reed's, hey, Sean, he's like, I only needed like 10, 15 minutes. We ended up talking for an hour and 20 minutes, but he's, you know what? Like, I didn't stop you because I was actually interested on listening to you because I think that you would make a great NHL analyst. So I was like, oh, thank you. And he's, when do you get off the season? Why don't you call me? I'll give you a tour of the studio. And I think I can help you get set up with the interview process for the NHL analyst job. So I was like, oh man, that's amazing. So season ends, 2016, season ends. And I decide in my mind after the tour and got to see exactly, I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, I've been doing all this off ice stuff. I'm ready for this. This is what I thought at the time. And so I'm like, you know what? This is perfect transition. I'm going to retire and I'm going to become a famous NHL broadcaster. Like that was the plan in my mind. And the interview was September 1st. The training camp for my team was the last week in August. I decided that I wasn't going, that I was going to put I was going to put all the cards in one basket. And I was confident. I was like, I'm a former player, comfortable in front of the camera. How could they not hire me? That was my mind. So had a great interview, met with the VP of Sportsnet. His assistant was a 6 lady. So I hit it off with my mom's 6 feet. And we talked for a bit while I was waiting. After I was done, she even said to me, she's like, Sean, man, I don't want to just shake your hand and say congratulations, but no one's ever lasted more than a half an hour in his office for an interview. You were in there for an hour, the full thing. That's really good. It looks really good." He even told me that he was intrigued when I asked him how it went. "Just so you know, it looks really good for you right now." 1 week, so they told me, you're going to hear something in 2, 3 weeks. 1 week later was when they made those big budget cuts because Sportsnet had bought Hockey Night in Canada off CBC. They were going with George Stropolopoulos as the host. Remember all that time? So they tried to do this new,
Yeah.
fresh thing. People didn't like it. The ratings went down. People wanted Don Cherry and Ron McLean back. They didn't want all these guys that have nothing to do with hockey hosting Hockey Night in Canada. It made no sense, even though I like George, but it made no sense that he got that job. They decided that they were going to do huge cutbacks. They fired 9 huge name guys from the hockey department. And this was 1 week after my interview. Let's say I got in. I think I would have done well, but there's nowhere even in the universe that the stuff that I've gained since then, the experience, the know-how, like I've learned so much. I'm ready now, but I thought I was ready back then. I still would have done okay because I like, you know what I mean? I would have learned and all that, but man, I'm a little bit like if I get a gig next week or whatever, my talent agent, if he gets something for me, I'll be totally confident and I'll know that 7 years ago I tried to do this and I've gained so much experience and know-how since then that I'm just confident going in and I'm just going to climb the ladder if I get my foot in the door, brother.
And if things happen for a reason, they happen
Oh
when they
yeah.
happen too. So that's the main thing that I always got to remember as well. Don't always rush things. They'll just happen when they're meant to happen at the end
Yeah,
of the
buddy,
day,
for
man.
sure.
So maybe that job at Sportsnet wasn't meant to be, and that's
It is
okay.
okay, but this is us being trained, experienced, mental health, all that now, right? But in 2016,
Exactly.
when I was only what? So 2016, so I'm only 34, 35 years old. And all I was doing since I was 20, since I was 17 in the OHL was playing hockey 8 months of the year, hockey 8 months of the year. That was my job. Turned into a profession. That's really all I knew, right? And so now I'm not playing anymore. I'm devastated about the situation with Sportsnet. Told everyone I was going for this. Everyone's pulling for me. Oh, we know you're going to get it. You're a natural. We believe in you. They never called and said, "Oh, you're not getting it." Well, Ken called me because it was crazy. Like the head story, 9 people, all Kelly Rudy, all these people fired Sportsnet, big budget cuts. So Ken called me and look, I'm sure you're seeing what's happening. I'm really upset. A lot of my really good friends have just been canned. So obviously they're not hiring right now, Sean. They just cut back whatever they cut back. But don't give up. I heard you did really good in your interview. I think you would have got it. You know what I mean? Just stay in town, try to do that. You know what I mean? So like that's what was happening. And then it just fizzled off and nothing ever happened. I'm devastated, not playing anymore. Obviously made the wrong decision with putting all my eggs in that basket. Didn't go to training camp, wasn't in shape, and was really upset. And that turned the New Year's and birthday usage into everyday usage, brother, into a situation where I was avoiding my family. I remember, so this time period it was shortly after that. So it was probably like the fall of 2000 and this went on for about 16 months. So it was over a year, but it was about probably 15, 16 months where I avoided my family. I didn't go home for Christmas, didn't go home for my birthday, didn't do a post so you see how active I am on social media. Didn't do a post in a year. Like I was off the grid, buddy. Was so ashamed of I had become. Was probably about 40 pounds less than I am right now at 225. And I got arrested for petty crimes twice because I was in that life. I pretty much I remember me and my brothers are really close. And I remember at this time talking to my brother Liam, who just retired from professional basketball and is now signed with the AEW in wrestling. And yeah, I'm serious. They signed him 2 months ago. He's been training with
I
their
believe you.
trainers. and he's going to be on TV like any week now. It's really exciting. But so me and Liam talk every day or whatever. And so at this time, I remember getting arrested for one of the petty crimes. Like it was like a theft under, and I'm trying to get bailed out. I haven't gotten bail yet. And so I'm like, it's like desperation, trying to trying to get a hold of Liam. And so I did get a hold of him. And Liam's like, what's going on, bro? Like, why did you do that? And then my mind was so like gone that like my response to him was like, man, I'm just doing it for some extra money. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, what are you talking about? You're walking into Home Depot and walking out with $1,000 of merchandise for extra money. Like I was thinking like that was okay. I was justifying that in my mind. And that was the addiction. That was the addict. Right. And that was a life for about, like I said, about 15, 16 months. And then it's funny that we just brought up Liam because Liam was actually the one that saved me out of that rut, that got me out of rock bottom. He had bought a house in Ajax. He had just finished a year playing in the CBA, which is the Chinese basketball league. It's the highest paid league in the world other than the NBA. So it's where James Harden might go if he doesn't come to the 76ers. They're like, oh, I'll go to China.
He doesn't get his act.
Yeah, I know. But like, yeah, so Liam did really well. He made a lot of money that year, US money, bought a house in Ajax. Needed someone to live in the house because he was still like abroad playing professional basketball. And he invited me to live at the house. So I was able to get out of where I was, get out of the toxic relationship I was in with another addict, and escape to my brother Liam that I helped raise. Now as a big boy making big bucks playing basketball, right? And it's a beautiful thing, man. He brought me out of the gutter, brought me there. I was only about a year out of reality, so I wasn't too far gone. So obviously it took a little time when I first got there, tried to sneak people in, tried to be weird. He had cameras set up that I didn't even know about. And he told me, I saw what happened last night. If that person comes back again, then you're not allowed to live here anymore. Straight up. That was what it was like in the beginning because I was still in that gray area of knowing that I had to
Yeah.
change, but being like Mob Deep says, no such thing as halfway crooks. You're scared to look, you're shook, right? So I was halfway, right? I was halfway out, right? I had this opportunity. I wanted the opportunity, but I hadn't completely let go yet. So once this is the youngest brother, I'm the oldest brother. Once he disciplined me like that, I knew what I had on the line and I cut out that BS and was able to embrace a good opportunity and started working. Got this marketing job at Costco, started getting my confidence up because I had to wear. I was doing those special promotions. I don't know if you have your Costco membership, but they have the special promos where they have those marketing guys that are so annoying. They're like, "Hey, sir, check this out." You know what I mean? So I was doing that. You had to wear dress pants and a collared shirt. So the confidence starts coming. You're dressing well. You're working full-time job. You have talent, the gift of gab. You're able to sell. The confidence went up. People are proud, and it was just up from there, man. It was up from there. I was able to make a comeback to that team in 2016, just before COVID. So I came back and played in 2019, and then when COVID hit, you know how all the leagues shut down. So that happened, and then but I stayed on the narrow path. Started the podcast about 2 years ago. Opened up a huge doors for me, and like I said, starting the coaching really opened up a lot of doors for me. I'm doing team mentoring now. And I call it chatting with the sheriff. What I do is I visit like triple A teams, double A teams, and I ask them to be fully ready without helmets and gloves 30 minutes before their practice. So they send out an email. They come a little early that day. So they're all ready a half an hour before. I come in. I have a 30-minute talk that I do with the kids. And then I come on the ice for at least 30 minutes with their team practice just to add some respect to the mentoring session, like back myself up. Oh, I'm talking to them, this, that, the other. And then I just just beeline it out of there. No, I'm coming on the ice with you guys. I'm coming on the ice. Oh, that is, yeah. So, because it was mostly like, and then the last one I did before the season ended was actually the U16 Don Mills Flyers, man. And it was all their draft years and stuff. 10 of them ended up getting drafted to the OHL because the OHL drafts like a year younger now or something. They're all underagers when they first get drafted, where before it was just two underagers on each team. You can only draft two underagers per draft year. Now I guess they draft them all that year. But Shamar Moses, who's on that
Yeah.
team, he ended up getting drafted in the first round to the Barrie Colts. And so I had him on my show shortly after that. And just so many doors open, buddy, so many opportunities. And it's such good stuff that it's just like trying to embrace it all, man. It's amazing, bro. It's amazing. It's amazing that
It's fun to have and be able to do these things on the doors they've opened for myself too, doing some speaking at local schools here, getting called back to my old high school. One of my former guy that I went to high school with, he has created this diversity a night and has bands, different cultures, just a little bit of everything, and people coming to share their story. And some of the kids were blown away and they had talked about it afterwards, or going to speak to this class of grade sevens and eights this year was like really compelling. About 100 of them, just because, and it opened them up a little more and shared a little bit of my story about being molested and doing all this stuff when I was younger, but it allowed all these other kids to share and open them up. And this happened to me too, or this is going on in my family, or my brother is in jail because of this. But there's so many different things. Like the more you share your story, the more it allows others to share and make them feel comfortable. That's the important part here about sharing each other's story and just teaching one person, or one person learning from it or getting something from it, picking one thing from it is
yeah.
all I care about. Only one
Oh
person.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
all it takes.
100%. And hey, we're leaving something else out here, brother. Sorry. A little bit of heartburn. Hey, a little bird told me that you're pretty good friends with Mr. Brady Leavold. And that's another outlet. Puck support. Everyone should know that. Puck support. If you haven't heard of it, guys, look it up because I believe they have a hotline too.
I
And he
don't know
has
if he
the
has a
number to
hotline, but he
call.
does support lots of things for addictions. Yeah, he has tons of stuff, and he's been doing lots of things as well, man. It's great to see his community grow as well, man. If anyone wants someone to follow too, Brady Leavold, he's come from this East Hastings, one of the worst places you could
Yeah.
be on the streets, man, in Canada
Yep.
and all of North America. There's other rough places around in Philadelphia, LA. But that guy's come back from nothing, with being a Tampa Bay
Yep.
draft pick as well. It's these things, man. I've seen so many big names fall
Yep.
off the charts because of the painkillers. And I'm sure you can attest to it though, too, man. Back in those days, it didn't take much for to ask the trainer, can I
Yeah.
get a handful of them or
Oh yeah.
whatever? They're like
Oh
candy
yeah.
back then.
Even I know it's not on the same level as a Percocet or something, but there was one thing that we would always take. It was ephedrine, right? Sudafedrin. And so they were these little red pills. Yeah,
Oh,
so
I know exactly what
we
they
would
are.
call them Tic Tacs. So, like in Rochester, Kent Weisbeck, longtime athletic therapist, great guy, probably will get to the Rochester Americans Hall of Fame. Like I would just say, we called him Snacky. I just be like, Snacky, can I get some Tic Tacs? He'd be like, how many do you need today? And then just depending on how tired I was or whatever, and I felt really good, I would just ask him for two. But if I felt a little down, I'd be like, oh, let me get three, Snacky. And like, it didn't matter. And it's not nothing against snacks. And that's how it was league wide. We've been just giving players ephedrine before games just to their hearts fucking pounding. And that's almost like doing cocaine. You know what I mean?
Oh
So
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and then like you said, the painkillers, very accessible. I'm glad because I never really got into pills. I'm really glad that I never did. Yeah, I was never a pill guy, so but I saw it a lot, and yeah, it can be messy if it's at a hand.
It's so true, man. It's sad to see the way everything has gone, but if we keep talking about these things and just bringing more stories to light, that's what we have to keep doing and banding together, because I don't see the healthcare systems helping these guys out. So it's guys like you and I and other guys around there that need to bring
Yeah,
light to these things, because that's the way the word and the
yeah,
stories are going to get out, man. And that's what we need to keep on doing, man. Stick together in this way and keep sharing these stories as well, man. And I appreciate Are you taking the twist and sharing little tidbits as well, man? Because it means a lot
Oh
to
yeah. And you know what? Like it takes a while to be able to be comfortable speaking about it publicly. I'll admit, I definitely wouldn't have shared that story 2 years ago, but I've had opportunity. My first sports conference panel was just this last spring at McMaster University for the McMaster Sports Business Conference, and I headlined the thing. So I talked for a full hour in front of a huge crowd in at McMaster, and that was the first time I did that. And I shared a lot of stories, incredible shows like this one. I've been able to start sharing stories, and but you realize how much it really does when honesty is the best policy and a support system is in place. You might as well share and be with your brothers and be a band of brothers and sisters and all stick together and know that, hey, I'm telling you right now, anyone that's listening to this, that right now they're in a really bad spot and they're using every day and they're in those bad scenarios every day where they're at risk of getting arrested every day because of where they are, right? Not because they might be doing something bad necessarily, but because of where they are. If that door gets kicked in, you don't think you're going to jail, you're going, buddy. You're going. It might not be your stuff. You're going to jail, right? So that's the lives people are living right now. And I'm telling anyone that's listening to this, like I've been in all those situations, been in all those situations. And when you're in that situation, you feel like there's no way out. You feel like reality is so far from where you are. And then you might look at stuff on your phone, if you even have a phone at that time. You might look at stuff or you're on a phone looking at stuff and you're like looking at people that used to be friends with or people you used to associate with. Wow, look at what they're doing. Oh, they're at a cottage. Oh, imagine what it'd be like to go to a cottage. Oh, then you start talking like you're not even part of reality anymore. But there's a way out because all it is just breaking is just breaking the cycle. You break the cycle. I broke the cycle when I got that opportunity for my brother Liam. I was able to break that cycle. I was able to break free. I was able to get away from the toxic environment because I'm telling you right now, it's not possible to stop the bad things that you may be doing if you're surrounded with people who do those bad things. It's not possible.
It's so true. You got to take yourself out of those situations, and it's okay to make that circle smaller or get rid of those negative or toxic people in your life. I've come to learn that over the last couple of years. I really value the people that I do have in my life. If you don't bring value to my life anymore, those types of things, then there's no need for you to be in my life. I don't want that in my life anymore. I want to be able to grow with people. My wife's taught me as well, and I'm learning day after day. In order to have that growth, you have to have those uncomfortable
Yeah, it's
conversations.
true.
It's not always challenging people, but like she said to me recently, I really like learning about people and why they think that. It doesn't make them a bad person. Maybe my morals and values don't line up with them. That still doesn't make them a bad person if they don't like a certain person or if they've said something wrong or whatever. I'll tell them that my morals and values don't align with yours, but that doesn't make you a bad person. And if they it depends on how they wanna react, that's a reflection of them, not me at the end of the day. I'm just asking them why. I wanna know why. If you can't tell me why, then there's a deeper rooted
Absolutely.
issue.
And like just to add and finish up on that, they say that you're the average of the five people you hang out with the most. So if a couple of the people in that group are bad apples, you have to change that because you're never going to be able to break free because you are the average of the five people that you hang out with the most. So that's something that people have to remind themselves. And if you can look yourself in the mirror and say that close group of people that everybody brings value to your life and is not dragging you through dirt and is just there because you're always helping them and they can rely on you or that's not a good reason to be around someone all the time because they always rely on you. So yeah, man, I'm
Exactly.
really glad that we got into this, and I hope that people listen to some of the things that we're saying and start to feel better about themselves and are able to break free.
And before we get going, I do have one
Of
last
course,
deep
buddy.
question for you, McMorrow. I got as someone with a diverse range of experiences both in hockey and life, what advice would you offer to the younger athletes or individuals facing their own personal challenges when it comes to pursuing their dreams and maintaining
Okay,
their well-being?
that's a really good question, buddy. I think the best way to respond to that, to answer that, is a lot of the times young athletes, young students, people that have really big potential, that are good kids, a lot of the times the mindset of these people, because I was one of them, I was a young athlete, you think that everyone's going to protect you. You think that everybody's going to protect you. And the reality is that there it will be people that are just around you for the ride. And they may not even wish the best for you, but because you benefit them, it's a benefit for them to be around you. That might be the only reason that they need to stick around you, and they may not be good for you. So you have to keep your circle small, right? And you can't just assume that people are going to protect you, because at the end of the day, people are for themselves and for their families. And if you're just a friend, but oh, you're a professional hockey player, they're not going to protect you necessarily unless it benefits them. And if you need protection like that, then you're probably doing something that you shouldn't be doing anyway. The best advice that I give for the young athletes, especially the guys that start making money when they play, is you got to be very careful who you hang out with, man. The wrong place at the wrong time could really screw you. And trust me, people will say anything to get themselves out of trouble, especially if they have an addiction or something like that. They'll turn on you, right? So you got to be careful. You got to keep your circle very fresh and very good people, people for the better good, just like you. And yeah, man, just have fun, but just be careful. And don't, I'm a big risk taker. Don't take risks with your liberty. Don't take risks. Don't get into a car when you know the driver's had too much to drink. Don't take risks like that. You don't need to do that. Your value is too high. You're a good kid. You're working hard. Your parents are proud of you. There's no reason for you to screw everything up because you're going to get into a car with a drunk driver, or you're going to be in a room where people are doing narcotics. And if cops were to come there, everyone's going to jail. Just stay. I know that's very extreme advice, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be scenarios for a lot of young athletes. So it's definitely worth saying.
It's so true, man. It's so many people are easily influenced is the
Yeah.
way I'd like to put it. And that could be with drugs that, like you said, you tried cocaine back in cannabis to start, but then got into cocaine and those types of things, and didn't take long when you had all that money and an 8 ball, well, what's that? Ah, that's nothing. And that's how it all starts for lots of people. And that's how it started for me as well. It was, oh, you haven't tried, I'm trigger warning, whatever, it doesn't matter, but everyone knows my drug of choice. But you haven't tried crack before? Oh, what's that? Let's try it. Yeah, let's try that. And then it was 20 years later, it was when those types of things, and it was down some really dark
Oh, yeah.
paths, and that's all it takes. It doesn't take much. Everything is, you don't know
Oh,
what you're getting today anyways,
no,
and you
you
really
don't.
don't.
You don't. And
So,
that's the scary part. And then, like I said, getting that risk taking, like some young athletes or young students, they might be at a party and it's just, oh, let's just do a line. It's not that big of a deal. There's no class tomorrow. But that line might be laced with fentanyl. And that might be the last thing that you're doing. And that's just not a risk that anyone should be taking. And because of the dangers, you
oh,
shouldn't be trying it anyway, but because of the dangers in today's age of things being mixed and rat poison and pills being mixed in the things, and it's very scary, man. Very scary.
Sean, it's come to an end now, but I do appreciate you coming on the show, man. I learned so much. I had a great time. I love the energy between both of us. I could feel a great vibe right from the beginning. But where can everyone find your show? And just so you know, Sean does a live show every once in a while down at the sports bar right down by the Air Canada Center. But so if you're ever in that area, go check out the Sheriff Sean McMorrow over on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff. But where can everyone else find your show
Yeah.
and
So the
business?
show's the Sheriff Podcast, and we have a YouTube channel, the Sheriff Podcast, Instagram, the Sheriff Podcast, Facebook, the Sheriff Podcast. We're not on Threads yet. We're on anywhere where you can find a podcast, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And yeah, I record at a sports bar called Bottom Line. It's right beside the Hockey Hall of Fame, 22 Front Street. I have the biggest show of my career on Friday, where I got big Ryan Reeves, the Toronto Maple Leafs' biggest signing this offseason, the heavyweight champion of the NHL. He's going to be with us live Friday night, 8 o'clock at Bottom Line. I'm really excited. I'm making it really fun. Put together a security detail of all my buddies that are hockey enforcers. We're going to do the red carpet. We're doing the whole deal, man. We got a couple people coming that are going to be filming like some behind the scenes stuff. And I don't know, man, CP24, the little birds, CP24 just might be showing up to see what this red carpet event's all about. But yeah, buddy, I was so comfortable in the show. You do such a great job. Anyone listening to this, if this man asks you to come on the show, it will be one of the greatest times of your life.
Thank you again, Sean, for coming on and taking the time out of your day to do so, man. I truly appreciate it a lot and wish you all the best with your future endeavors as well. And I hope you
I
have an amazing
appreciate you
rest of your
so
day,
much.
man.
See you later, guys. Woo!